Well, it's happened. The energy cap is off, the budget is just around the corner, and there are no signs that the government will change its mind about cancelling the winter fuel payment for more than 9 million pensioners. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello, and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and has relevance. And if you ever needed proof that channels like ours that promote the older generation are needed, then look no further than at one of our upcoming editions, which looks at that very issue. It certainly seems there is a divide, mainly with the younger generation, but even the internet seems to put the younger generation first and treats us as an irrelevance. But we're not ready to be downtrodden or forgotten just yet. It's going to make for fascinating viewing, so do keep your eyes open for it. So now, back to our favourite topic, the winter fuel payment. I don't think anyone would disagree that the winter fuel payment shouldn't go to those people who don't need it. But the government's blanket ban, and please excuse the irony of using the word blanket, but the blanket ban means that millions of pensioners who need the payment won't get it. Now, the government claims it's had to make some hard choices, but we can all guarantee, can't we, that none of their choices will be nearly as hard as those that will have to be made by their victims. And even with the added hardship of energy prices going up by 10%, they are so intractable in their commitment to making the upcoming winter as unbearable as possible for so many older people that they won't even apologise for being forced into making this decision. Take a look at this clip from Good Morning Britain when Susanna Reid confronted Keir Starmer about it.
You are dedicated to providing a government service for working people. You must have mentioned working people at least 13 times in your speech. What about the people who have worked all of their lives, paid into the state, pensioners? How can you justify taking away up to £300 from those formerly working people?
Well, it's tough. And I think the first thing to say is, and to explain, is why we had to do it. We inherited a really damaged economy. We did an audit and we discovered an undisclosed £22 billion black hole this year. Okay. The reason we had to do this is because of the black hole left by the previous government.
But you had choices and you chose to do it. You didn't have to do it, you chose to do it.
£22 billion of money is a huge amount to find in a year.
Yeah.
But by leaving it, not doing it, in my view, we ran the risk of losing control of the economy.
Would you like to take this opportunity to say sorry to pensioners like Chrissy?
Well, I am really concerned that we've been put in this position. When you inherit an economy with £22 billion missing, it is a really difficult set of choices.
And I asked you, would you like to take this opportunity to say sorry to voters who voted for you, like Chrissy, pensioners who are about to lose hundreds this winter because of your choices?
What I'd say to Chrissy is this. I absolutely promised that we would stabilise the economy to make sure we never had the economy getting out of control again. We then discovered £22 billion missing.
Okay, so you've mentioned the £22 billion a couple of times. You have also pointed out the full
it is the single reason we've had to take this decision.
But I would repeat, you did have choices. Just because I've asked you a couple of times and you have just skirted around it, I did ask, would you like to take this opportunity to say sorry to the pensioners who feel hurt and less well off, certainly not better off, because you've taken away their winter fuel allowance? Would you like to say sorry?
The people who should be saying sorry are the last government who left a hole of £22 billion.
We've only got a couple of minutes left, and people will notice you have not said sorry for making a difficult choice. You had the opportunity to, but you haven't said sorry for making what is, people acknowledge, a difficult choice.
Yeah, you know, he knows that cancelling the winter fuel payment is indefensible, so for him the best course of action is to ignore the question completely. Plus, of course, it's now widely accepted that nearly half of that black hole is attributable to the government's huge payouts to the civil service, doctors and train drivers. And of course, that makes this quote from Rachel Reeves totally laughable. Watch this one from Sky News.
Because unless we grow the economy, we're going to continue to be in a situation where taxes are at too high a level and public spending is not sustainable.
Yeah, Reeves, of course, is unrepentant about the winter fuel payment. And there's another clip here. This one's from the Labour Party conference. Just shows you how unrepentant she is.
I made the choice to means test the winter fuel payment so that it is only targeted at those most in need. I know that not everyone in this hall or in the country will agree with every decision that I make. But I will not duck those decisions. Not for political expediency, not for personal advantage. Faced with that £22 billion black hole that the Conservatives left this year, and with a triple lock ensuring that the state pension will rise by an estimated £1,700 over the course of this Parliament, I judged it the right decision in the circumstances that we inherited.
Well, she said that not everyone would agree with her decision, and indeed conference didn't. A motion was put forward for the government to reverse the decision. And if you haven't seen it before, just watch this.
Friends, people simply do not understand. I do not understand how our new Labour government can cut the winter fuel allowance for pensioners and leave the super rich untouched. This is not what people voted for. It's the wrong decision and it needs to be reversed.
We now move on to Composite 15 and an economy for the future. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you. And all those against? That was carried.
A great victory there, except of course that the motion is non-binding on the government. But my goodness me, what a slap in the face it was for Reeves and Starmer. I mean, to have their own union paymasters deliver such a vote against them is unthinkable, really. Well, I've no doubt that we'll see the cut formally announced in the budget, although I still kind of sort of cling to the hope, I should say a forlorn hope, that they might at least make some last minute changes to include the nearly 3 million pensioners who currently miss out on the pension credits. And I guess forlorn hope is accurate because it seems that they've shot themselves right in the feet by saying that they want all those not currently claiming the pension credit to apply. Apparently the take-up has risen by 156%, which effectively wipes out the savings made by cutting the winter fuel payment, and I understand will cost them an additional £700 million. Well, faced with that, I can't see them bringing the payment back for everyone else. I've got some more winter fuel payment news coming up in just a moment. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. It's incredible, isn't it, that the government either failed to conduct an impact assessment into the effects of withdrawing the winter fuel payment from 9 million pensioners, or they've done one and are simply too frightened to issue the impact statement, because obviously it'll fail to support their decision, won't it? However, according to the GB News weekly money briefing, energy experts at Utility Bidder have examined the official government data to highlight those areas in England and Wales with the most and least energy efficient dwellings. In other words, they've identified those areas that will suffer the most from the winter fuel payment cut. And it begs the question, did the government already know this? It's their data after all. Now, utility bidder analysts have looked at average energy consumption, CO2 emissions, heating costs and hot water costs, and then they awarded each local authority and region with an energy efficiency score out of 10. So these are the top 10 areas with the highest annual heating costs. Right, the Staffordshire Moorlands, Powys, Westmoreland and Furness, Derbyshire Dales, North Yorkshire, Cotswolds, Rutland, West Devon, Stroud and the Ribble Valley. Now, if you live in those regions, and of course in Scotland too, where winters are noticeably harsher than in England and Wales, you're going to have to use as many tips and tricks as you can to stay warm. Now, incidentally, we have a previous edition of Grey Matters that could help you with that. Top tips to save gas. Now, it's from 2022, but I think it's still relevant, and I'll leave a link in the description. Now, in other news, one comment in our channel from Dickybo2, himself a pensioner, suggested that older people who struggle to make their energy payments had only themselves to blame for not fixing the tariffs at lower prices like he did. I suspect some of you are going to have something to say about that in the comments. As for me, well chum, you know, not every older person is as savvy or as tech savvy as you, obviously. Not everybody has the ability to make those sort of decisions. So, yeah, good for you. Not. Anyway, nevertheless, it is good to see the energy companies are stepping up with some help. Two of them, Octopus and OVO, have a range of measures to help keep vulnerable pensioners warm this winter. OVO Energy is offering electric blankets to its most vulnerable customers through its £50 million customer support package. And this scheme also includes mattress toppers as well as electric blankets. Now, OVO Energy has also announced the relaunch of its electric blanket scheme, which it first started in January 2022. Now, the scheme is open to all customers, though its £30 million Octo Assist Fund will be given priority to those who are medically vulnerable, elderly or living alone. Now, they have 20,000 electric blankets to hand out, which they reckon will allow pensioners to keep warm for as little as 3p an hour. And that's potentially reducing bills by £150. So good on you two companies. It's good to see some help being given, and I'll leave the relevant links in the description. And of course, there is another area that Rachel Reeves is looking to attack, and that's our ability to leave our money and remaining estates to our families when we die. She has pointedly refused to rule out raising inheritance tax. Take a look at this snippet from Sky News.
You rule out raising inheritance tax and raising capital gains in the budget. Can you rule that out, Chancellor?
I'm not going to write a budget 2 months ahead of delivering it. We're going to have to make difficult decisions in a range of areas. On spending, on welfare and tax, we're going to have to make a series of difficult decisions.
You know, she has a choice there. Raise inheritance tax, currently 40% I think, so that those who have to pay it will pay more and lose even more of their estates, or lower the threshold to capture more people. And it's not just millionaires who are affected by this now. Many ordinary families are finding themselves unexpectedly above the threshold. Now, here at Grey Matters Towers, we have a tenants in common arrangement. Now, many people believe if both spouses' names are on a mortgage or on the property deeds, they each own half the house. They don't. They both own the whole house. So when one dies, the whole estate passes to the surviving spouse, and when they die, if the value exceeds the inheritance tax threshold, then the government will take its pound of flesh. Now, with tenants in common, the spouses do indeed own half the estate each. So when one dies, their half goes into a trust. And when the other dies, their half also goes into a trust. So unless you're super wealthy, neither half should attract death duties, and your family will reap the benefits. It also prevents the surviving spouse from being forced into selling the house or the home to cover the costs of living in, say, a care home, because they don't fully own the house. Now, we talk about death duties, and HMRC just love this. I mean, when my father died, HMRC made us value everything. Not just the house, but the furniture, the possessions, I mean, absolutely everything. And when the rebate of his community charge arrived in the post, there was a letter from the HMRC, also in the same post, offering their condolences for our loss and reminding us that the value of the refund had to be added to the value of the estate. Unbelievable. Now, I'm in no way qualified to offer financial or estate planning advice. I'm just telling you what we've done. But I really would suggest that if you think you might be impacted by inheritance tax, you should seek some advice from a reputable source. Now, after our last winter fuel video, I did get one very pointed complaint because it was paired with news about the assisted dying bill. They had thought it was ill-judged and in bad taste. However, in my defence, it was current news that I deemed necessary to report on. So if you too were offended by that, then, well, I'm sorry, but I felt that news had to be reported. Now, as always, keep those comments coming. Let's keep those debates going because we're getting a lot of observations from you. And as an aside, apart from the on-screen animations, I don't generally ask you to subscribe. If you want to, you will. If you don't, you won't. But obviously, we love engaging with new followers, and your shares have been really helpful in attracting new people to the channel. So thank you all very much for that. And funnily enough, after that last video about the assisted dying legislation, YouTube reached out to me, concerned for my mental health and offering me support if I were feeling suicidal. Well, it's good to know they're looking out for me, and it did give me a right good laugh. Until the next time on Grey Matters, thanks for joining us, and it's bye for now.